Yo, how y'all doing, man? I'm back and I'm ready to react. If you are new, I go by Hunter Houdini. You could call me Houdini for short. It's nice to meet you. Hope your day is going good. Hope your day is going well. And yeah, can't tell by the title, man. We got Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, a courtship of rivals. This is a video that's been suggested a lot, and I was holding it off a little bit because I wanted to learn more about not Matt Johnson. I wanted to learn more about Larry Bird. So now we are finally here with it, man. This is a long video. So y'all told me to break it up into parts. So I'm gonna probably do either 3 or 4 parts, depending on how much time I have like to record. So I'm gonna try to record at least 2 parts today. That's my goal. So let's get into it though, man.
Talk about every day, somewhere. If I go to a foreign country, magic, what magic? It's the same everywhere.
Okay, so this is a HBO documentary. Look like. Hopefully this is the right video too as well, because there was one that was 12 years ago, but this one was 11 years ago.
We don't have to see each other.
Pick the more recent one.
We don't have to say hello. We don't have to call each other.
That's my main competition. It's always been like that.
You know you got this tight bond with this cat, and you don't have to see him for a year or two. But you're always going to be linked to him.
That's a rivalry.
We got this connection. It's never going to be broken. I mean, right to our graves. They'll be talking about this 100 years from now.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to pause that much either.
It all began here in Salt Lake City, Utah, on the night of March 26, 1979. It was the NCAA championship, Indiana State versus Michigan State, a game that still ranks as the highest-rated college final ever on television.
Wow.
A game that's now remembered as a prologue to a rivalry that transformed a sport and intertwined two legacies.
So they was playing, so they've been battling since college, okay.
But on that night, March 26, 1979, the first time Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever went head-to-head on a basketball court. They were simply two young men trying to win a very big ball game.
Well, this is probably the biggest game I'll ever play in my life, and I just feel like, you know, I'm representing not only myself, my team, but we're representing our school and our town, Terre Haute.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, for me. I won the state title back in my home state, and then my next accomplishment was going to the NCAA and playing in a game like tonight in the finals.
They were both number 33?
They were two stars thrown together by the cosmos to compete, but only one of them had been groomed for the spotlight. In his case, it seemed since birth.
He always smiling,
in
man.
East Lansing really put that smile on his face in the beginning, and it never came off.
Born August 14th, 1959, Irvin Johnson grew up in Lansing, the gritty industrial capital city of Michigan. Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin Johnson Sr.'s 10 kids.
10?
Christine was a school custodian, while Irvin Sr. worked 2 jobs nearly around the clock.
My father, he got up early every morning, 6 o'clock or so, and he went to work on his trash hauling truck every single day. Around noon, he would come home, catch a nap, and then he worked for General Motors for 30 years. And he won an award for never being late and never missed a day.
As a youngster, Irvin displayed his own strong work ethic on the blacktop.
I was out there all day long. Before we went to school, the bus leave at 7:30. I was out there at 6:30 working on my game. My mother sometimes had to bring me food, or she would have one of my brothers and sisters go get that boy so he could eat something.
From a very young age, Irvin knew what he wanted to do. He had it all planned out.
My dreams were to play in the NBA and become a businessman.
The first neighborhood basketball powerhouse, Sexton High.
I knew the players, I knew the tradition.
Yeah,
I
everyone
wanted
with
to
the
be a
same
part
height.
of that. And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
But when Lansing, like many cities in the mid-70s, began busing to desegregate its school system, Irvin's journey took an unexpected detour to a predominantly white school across town.
My first day at Everett High School was my first time I really had to understand there was a race problem. Nobody white would speak to anybody black, and nobody black would speak to anybody white.
A lot of racial tension, a lot of fights, rioting. They didn't want minorities there.
He kind of shrugged it off, and basically his attitude was, okay, well, I'll overcome this.
He had the throwback
Whenever
then,
there was
okay.
any racial problems, the principal would get Irvin and go talk to these kids. I can just see him with his big hands, calm down, just calm down. He'd break up fights.
Talk with his friends, tell him, let it go, we can't fight about everything. Let's just chill, let's play basketball.
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the
Magic,
beginning,
okay.
I thought it was foolish and dumb. I didn't know nothing about a nickname. Then what happened was, you start saying, wait a minute, it fits my game. Hanging out with my boys on the street corners, we used to sing Temptation songs. They started saying, hey man, Magic, that's cool. And then people on the street start saying, hey Magic. And I said,
So he just stuck with him. I wonder how tall he was in high school.
I think he felt he had to kind of live up to that name. And I must say that he did.
He had that Michael Jackson throw back then. Oh. Yeah, he was tall.
a kegger tonight, won't you come on by? And I said, what's a kegger? So he said, well, what it is, we get this big keg of beer, and you just go for it. Okay, well, what time does the kegger start? Because regular party time in our neighborhood is 10, 11 o'clock. The kegger starts at 7. I said, the party starts at 7 o'clock? And I said, okay, man, I'm gonna come to the kegger. We had a good time. The music was kind of bad, but we had a good time, you know.
His senior year, Johnson did at Everett what he had planned to do at Sexton, win the state championship.
Dang.
And when it came to choosing a college, he decided to stay where the love would be assured, home in Lansing.
Next year, I will be attending Michigan State University.
That's crazy. I've never seen none of that footage.
At MSU, Magic's
Magic.
star quickly went national. But atop the college game, he soon discovered a certain presence beside him.
The first time I saw Larry Bird was actually in a magazine. Saw his stats, blown away by his stats. But let's see if he can really do it against us. And that's always a mindset of black players if he's a great white player.
In 1978, after his freshman year, Magic would quickly find out, when both he and Bird were chosen to play for Team USA in the World Invitational
okay, they
Tournament.
played together.
They would put Larry Bird and I on the same team together to scrimmage, right? It was blowing my mind because he's dominating Jack Givens, Player of the Year in college basketball. Larry Bird is eating him alive. I couldn't wait to call home to tell my boys, man, this dude named Larry Bird is for real.
Behind
This
the
is
back?
the baddest
Okay.
white dude I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I thought he was very good. There's no question about it. I thought he was probably the best guard on the team.
Irvin Johnson, look at that.
See, I didn't even know they played together, so this is news to
He didn't play
me.
a lot, but you could tell.
I think our first game was in Kentucky. We got about a 10, 12-point lead. Man, they put us in. Went to 25, 30, just that fast.
Bring the scope up on him.
Fast break again, 3-on-2. Griffin. Look at that steal by Larry Bird.
Take
Steals.
us out, the league go back down, put us back in.
That's Bird and Johnson.
The show
So they was the
started.
difference makers.
When you play with Magic, there's just something about it. You want to make that extra pass. You want to get that rebound and start the break.
So Bird been getting
We
rebounds
came
and
down a couple
steals.
times. I go behind my back, no look to him. He no look back to me, and I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh man.
Here's that last play. Magic
That had to
Johnson
be
going in, drops off the Bird.
A best
Bird
experience as a fan to watch them play together, and then
This
seeing
guy
them
got game.
battle in the NBA. That's
They had
crazy.
some wonderful moments on the court, but they probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period, and it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
But such curtness was hardly strange coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly good at them. He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game. That's who I am.
I start to read materials that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, you know, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. You know, there's people try to get things out of you. Things don't even pertain to basketball, and them are the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking.
Man, that's funny. Just think like, Larry Bird, he could call innocent right here. Just think that he was really in the NBA trash talking some of the people that's some of the greatest players. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy to think about. Like, he goes so innocent right here, but he go in the NBA and just dominate. That's insane.
Things don't even pertain to basketball, and them are the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from. You know, Larry was raised in a 2 or 3 room house on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week. He was raised tough.
Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns
Larry
of French
Joe
Lick
Bird.
and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
I didn't know that people made millions of dollars. I didn't know that everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I would live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor Day 1956, Larry was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on, he and his older brothers earned a reputation around the Valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We're either fighting amongst ourselves or there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things, you know.
If I get my brother in a fight with somebody his age, I was happy as hell because I like to see him get beat up, and that's just the way it was. if I got in a scrape with some kid and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was going to whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They done everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had had from the war. What happened to his father in the war affected his entire life. He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would, on occasion, drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
My mom sometimes worked late, and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours. Worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
To young Larry, actions spoke louder than words.
Yeah.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech. So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course, next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, well, there he'd be. The minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
Basketball was just, it came to me, seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability. I just thought the game out.
By his senior year at Springs Valley High, Larry Bird had sprouted into a star. But Bird was from the Valley, hardly a hotbed of talent in the big-time world of Indiana hoops.
The first thing they say, well, they don't play nobody down there. He's from French Lick. They don't play nobody.
I think that put a chip on his shoulder, always having to prove who he was and how good he was.
He was good enough for Indiana University's Bobby Knight to come calling late his senior year. And folks in the Valley couldn't have been prouder. Their local hero was heading 60 miles north to play ball for one of the best college teams in the land.
Once I got to IU, it didn't take long to realize that I was out of my
So they was one of the best college teams, wow.
Had over 30-some thousand students. Then I didn't have the funds. First week and a half, I thought, man, this ain't gonna work.
He left after 24 days.
Dang.
Let my mother down. She didn't talk to me for 2 months. But it didn't matter what other people said. To this day, I don't care.
Back in French Lick, Bird took to working for the city, hauling trash and painting park benches. Meanwhile, by that winter, his father's demons had taken him to an even darker place.
By this point, Joe and Georgia were divorced, and he was behind in his payments to the family. The police came by, and of course they all knew him. So Joe said, hey, I need a few hours to get my affairs together before you take me away. So he called Georgia and he said, you guys will be better off without me, and I'm gonna take my life. And he put the phone down and he killed himself. He shot himself.
Dang.
When Dad passed, you know, it hurt Larry. I mean, that was his best friend. Is gone now. But Larry didn't show it a lot.
He just didn't say much. You know, he just kind of held it within. I've never heard him speak out about it at all.
That's crazy. Like, I'm trying not to pause so much, but that's crazy. I've never knew none of this about Larry Bird. Like, it's crazy how like Magic came from seemed like just a happier side. Then you got this dark side with Larry Bird's like, wow. And it's crazy because they saying he was shy, but man, that's just wow. It's crazy how things end up happening.
I was mad when I heard about it, and I was madder after the funeral because I thought he sort of cut out on us during a tough time. But you know, he went through a lot in his life. He did what he had to do.
If Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart. I really do.
It was Bill Hodges, a young coach from Indiana State University, who convinced Bird to give college hoops another shot. So with a promise to his mom to graduate, Bird headed to Terre Haute and ISU, a school that never so much had been to the NCAA tournament.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. You know, he's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody, which is fine. Still dominated.
Wherever Hoosiers gather, they no longer talk of whether Indiana has a new state bird. Now his
Larry
claim
Bird
to
funny.
fame is just the way he plays the game.
Yeah, I ain't played nobody, but y'all couldn't.
It's not the Cardinal now. Hey Larry, take a bow.
Look at that crowd, dude.
Indiana has a new state bird.
By the time he had led tiny ISU as a senior to a 33-0 record, and a spot in the
33-0.
'79 title game, Larry Bird had become, alongside Magic Johnson, the talk of college basketball. Just a year after sharing the court on Team USA, they were back together. And the day before the big game, Magic couldn't wait to greet his old playmate.
Indiana State was on practicing, and we were waiting in the tunnel. We got there early. I wanted to definitely say hello to Larry, you know. When they came through, it was like nobody would say nothing. I wanted to go toward him, like his guys, like made sure that he didn't say nothing. And then they kind of started snickering, like, Michigan State, you in trouble. We're gonna kill you guys tomorrow.
I probably did snub him. I don't remember it, but I'm sure I did. I didn't want any, you know, like I call it love fest, hugging and slapping high fives with opponent. You're there for a reason. You're there to win a game.
That just says on now.
It is Indiana State against Michigan State. I'm Bryant Gumbel, and the fans here are going bananas.
I mean, let's face it, if Larry Bird were black and came from Chicago, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. They were polar opposites. One black, one white, one outgoing, one shy. That was the charm of the attraction.
The Bird against Magic. All of the superlatives have been used, and believe me, all of them have been warranted.
Heading into the tournament, Magic was the bigger star. But by tip-off, it was Bird, having hardly missed a shot in the semifinal, who had become the focus of fans, and more importantly, of Michigan State.
We actually had two men on Larry everywhere he went.
Dang. I'm surprised they didn't play a box on one, you know, 4 guys on Larry and 1 on the other 4, because they didn't have a lot of talent. You know, if you stop Larry, you pretty much stop them.
Look at the pressure around him. 2-3 men, and he's short.
I didn't play well at all. Biggest game of my life, I didn't play well.
I think our length and our size, our jumping ability was able to bother him.
I didn't shoot well. Missed, I think, 3 free throws.
Larry Bird has had a cold shooting night.
I battled him, but I didn't have it.
Posterized. Oh, not the cherry on top. Oh, man. Dang.
National champions, 1979. Magic, not only were you a leader on offense, I thought you did a great job on Larry Bird in the zone, denying him the ball.
Yes, Coach gave us a good game plan to go against Larry Bird, and all we had
It's
to do
crazy
was
because
go
I've
out
never
and do
seen
it.
any of this footage.
That's what
Like,
we done.
Congratulations,
that's
Super
what's
Bowl
crazy.
game.
Like, it's crazy that footage like this exists that I haven't even seen.
It was over, you know.
Dang.
That was my 4 years. I was done.
Oh, dang. So this was senior year.
No, it still hurts. And when you win 33 in a row and you walk into a game, you know, you never know what to expect, but I expect to win. We didn't win. Toughest loss I ever took.
That's when that, that doubt starts to ease in
I
with all the
knew
players.
it was going to haunt him forever because we were going to see each other.
Saying they
a
didn't play
lot.
nobody.
The National Basketball Association, in its 33rd season, is troubled by diminishing crowds and declining television ratings, signs that fan interest may be waning.
If college basketball...
Okay, before we get into this part, I'm going to end the first part right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to probably record part 2 right after this. So, yeah, man, I'm going to do a little recap. So, where we at? 22 minutes, 16 seconds. Okay. So, yeah, I learned a lot this video because I didn't even know they played together before they even played against each other. Didn't know that at all. So, they played together. Was it USA team or All-Star team or something like that? I think it was. So I didn't know that. Also, I don't know why I always thought Magic Johnson went to UCLA for some reason. I don't know why. I thought it was just because I thought since he went to the Lakers, I thought he came from UCLA. I don't know. I just thought that. I thought he was just always in LA. But yeah, that's just crazy though, man. And I see a lot of I see a lot of the Caitlin Clark comparison in Larry Bird, like why they compare her to Larry Bird, you know. especially with the going to a college team where you're the best player and you take them to that far and lose and stuff like that. So I see a lot of the comparisons and all that. But man, I'm learning a lot of this through this documentary, man. But yeah, that's the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, man. Until then, 100 and he's gone.